This is number 4 from Unit S, Concept 7, PQ 7, and the problem is cosine x over 2 minus sine of x equals 0. So the first thing that we want to do is move sine of x to the other side, so then we can work better with the cosine x over 2. So cosine x over 2 equals sine of x. Now from our half formulas, we can see that cosine x over 2 is gonna equal radical 1 plus cosine of x over 2. So we plug that back in for cosine x over 2. So now our new equation is going to be radical 1 plus cosine of x over 2 equals the sine of x. So from here, what we want to do is we want to focus on getting rid of the radical, and the only way to do that is that we square both sides. So we square sine of x, and we square radical 1 plus cosine of x over 2. So that's going to cancel out the 2 and the radical. So now we're going to just have 1 plus cosine of x over 2 equals sine squared of x. Now from here, what we want to do is we want to get a single trig function, and we know that sine squared of x is one of our identities, in which sine squared of x is going to equal 1 minus cosine squared of x. So we plug that in for sine squared of x. So 1 plus cosine of x over 2 is going to equal 1 minus cosine squared of x. Now what we want to do is we want to get rid of the 2, so we multiply 2 to each side. So that cancels out that. So now we're left with 1 plus cosine of x equals 2 on the outside, 1 minus cosine squared of x. Then we will distribute this 2 to both of them to get 1 plus cosine of x equals 2 minus 2 cosine squared of x. Now we want to move everything to the other side, so it's not going to be 2 cosine squared of x plus cosine of x minus 1. Now we have a quadratic problem, so from here we want to factor it out into each individual part. So this might look tricky, but in order to factor it out simpler, we can substitute the cosines for u. So the problem would look like 2u squared plus u minus 1, in order to make the factoring seem more simple and not to overcomplicate things. So then we know that by simple factoring that this is going to factor into 2u minus 1 and u plus 1. So now what we just do is for the u we just plug back in cosine. So 2 cosine of x minus 1 cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. So now we can use the zero product property. So each individual one can be equal to 0. So 2 cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. Cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. So now from here, simple algebra. So cosine of x is going to equal 1/2, because you're going to add 1 and then divide it by 2. This one is going to be cosine of x equals -1. And we know that -1 is only equal when it's -1, 0, which is 180 degrees, or just pi. 1/2 when found in the unit circle is found on 60 degrees, which is pi over 3, and 300 degrees, which is 5 pi over 3. So our final answers are 180 degrees, pi, 300 degrees, 5 pi over 3, and 60 degrees, pi over 3. And those are the answers to this problem.